All right, so we're back and ready to dive into Chapter 6 of Survive the Island.
Hmm.
And wow, this one is pretty intense.
Yeah, Surrender Comes Softly. That title is just chills.
It really sets the tone, doesn't it? Like,
Mm.
we know things are about to get, uh,
Oh yeah, way darker.
yeah, exactly. Like, surrender, that's not a word you want to hear in a survival situation, you know?
No, it implies giving up, losing yourself. And that's what makes this chapter so fascinating. The island's influence is becoming so much stronger, so much more insidious.
Right, it's not just like whispers anymore. It's like it's messing with the environment, twisting things that are essential for survival into like threats, you
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. That glowing waterfall from chapter 5, it's back and it's about to cause some serious problems for a few of the players.
Right. Like water, you need it to live, but now it's glowing.
Yeah.
Would you risk dehydration or drink from something that's clearly been tampered with by the island? If you were Jordan or Andrea, what would you do?
That's the brilliance of this chapter. It makes you question every instinct.
Oh, yeah.
Totally. We've seen players trust their gut and end up dead, but can you really ignore something as basic as thirst?
Right.
The island is playing with their minds, making the simplest choices feel like life or death.
Absolutely. And it's not just the environment. The island is using the players against each other, too.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
remember Mayo? She was marked by that bone dust circle, and now she's hearing whispers urging her to attack Boone.
It's like the island is weaponizing their trauma, you know?
Right.
Mayo's already vulnerable, and now the whispers are exploiting her fear, turning her into a potential threat.
And Boone is stuck in a terrible situation. What do you even do in that situation?
Yeah.
Try and reason with her. Run. Restrain her.
Exactly. And how does Mayo fight back against that kind of manipulation? Does she even realize what's happening?
It's heartbreaking. You know, these people are being pushed to their absolute limits, physically and mentally.
Right.
Speaking of mental pressure, let's talk about Typhona, Paul, and Graham. They're being drawn to a lighthouse by the whispers,
Hmm.
but Graham isn't buying it.
No, he's not.
He's still skeptical of the island's power.
Which is honestly kind of refreshing at this
I
point.
know, right? Somebody who's actually thinking critically.
Exactly. He's questioning everything, refusing to blindly follow the whispers.
But that puts him at odds with Typhona and Paul, who are starting to believe that the lighthouse is their only hope, their only way out.
It's a classic conflict, faith versus reason, intuition versus logic.
So they've got this impossible choice. Convince Graham, force him to come along, or resist the whispers and risk losing their only guide. And Graham's got his own dilemma.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Trust these people who are clearly being influenced by the island, or strike out on his own and risk becoming even more vulnerable.
It's the classic survival story dilemma, trust versus self-reliance.
It really is, and the island is making it impossible for them to work together, driving a wedge between them.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about Ian. He's been wandering alone through the jungle and stumbles upon this weird structure made of twisted branches.
Hmm.
And it's like he's found this little pocket of peace in this crazy, chaotic world. He feels safe, drawn to it.
This is where the island's manipulation gets really subtle, offering comfort and security. But is it genuine or is it another trap?
Right, exactly.
Ian is exhausted, vulnerable, and this structure is playing right into his need for rest and protection.
So the big question is this peace a gift or a curse? Because we know the island loves to twist things, to make the desirable dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
If you were Ian, would you sleep there, investigate it, or get out of there as fast as you could?
It's like the creepy abandoned cabin in the woods, right?
Yeah.
You know something bad is going to happen, but you can't help but be drawn in.
Totally. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what the island is doing to Ian, playing on those primal fears.
For sure, and it's effective.
Oh, yeah, super effective.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Rosendo and Brian. So, remember that map Rosendo found?
Uh,
He's following it deeper into the jungle, and Brian's decided to secretly follow him.
Boo, sneaky.
I know, right? Major trust issues.
Yeah, the paranoia is thick here. Rosendo's being guided by this map from who knows where, and Brian's convinced he's found the key to survival, even if it means betraying his fellow player.
Right.
They're both isolated, suspicious, and heading straight for the heart of the island's territory. Not good.
It's like a recipe for disaster, and then it gets really creepy. Rosendo hears this buzzing sound, and Brian hears like a growl, this deep, guttural growl.
It's like the island is turning up the volume on the fear factor, playing them like instruments, you know?
Yeah, Cody.
Using their fear and curiosity to orchestrate this symphony of chaos.
And they both have this split-second decision to make. Investigate the sound, run away, or try to find each other. What would you do?
I don't know. It's a tough one. Every choice seems to lead them further down a path of isolation and paranoia.
And the psychological pressure is just relentless. Let's talk about Mike. He's completely lost it, consumed by despair and the whispers in his head.
Yeah, per Mike.
It's like the island is breaking him down piece by piece.
Yeah. What's so disturbing about Mike's story is that it's not physical torture, He's being psychologically dismantled.
Right.
The whispers are targeting his vulnerabilities, his doubts, his fears, until he's just a shell of his former self.
It's terrifying. It really shows you how powerful the island's influence can be.
Absolutely, it's a warning to the other players.
And then he finds this toolbox.
Hmm.
Seems harmless enough, right?
Right?
But in it are matches. And the whispers start telling him to burn down that twisted branch structure that Ian found,
Oh, no.
promising him release from his torment if he does.
This is where the island's manipulation takes a dark turn.
Oh, yeah.
It's offering a solution, a way to end the suffering, but it's rooted in destruction.
Exactly.
So does Mike give in to the Whisper's demands, burn it all down? Or does he fight back, try to build something, create something positive in this desolate world?
It's a choice between succumbing to despair or clinging to hope. And honestly, after everything we've seen in this chapter, it's hard to know which path is more terrifying.
I know, right? It's a real nail-biter.
It really is.
Okay, so
Yeah.
where do we go from here?
Well, I think we've got to check in with Maoli.
Yeah, she's been through a lot.
Yeah, she has. And things aren't getting any easier for her.
Yeah.
That obsidian labyrinth, it's like a physical representation of the mental maze the island's creating for everyone. And she's trapped in it.
Right.
So let's pick up her story in part 2 of our deep dive into chapter 6 of Survive the Island, Surrender Comes Softly.
Can't wait. Yeah, so last we saw her, she was trapped in that shifting, changing obsidian labyrinth.
Right. It's like being stuck in a nightmare. You can't see where you're going. The walls are closing in on you.
And what she does is actually fascinating. She chooses to close her eyes.
Really? Why would she do that?
It's like she's rejecting the island's attempt to control her, to disorient her. She's turning inward, relying on her memory, her intuition to find a way out.
So it's a form of rebellion. Like she's saying, I won't play your game.
Exactly. It's her taking back some control in this situation where she feels totally powerless.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. But does it work?
Well, she does escape the labyrinth, but she emerges onto a cliff overlooking the ocean, and the sky is filled with these strange blue stars.
So she's out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Pretty much. It's this beautiful image, but
Mhm.
unsettling at the same time. Like even the beauty is tainted by the island's presence.
Right, it's a reminder that she's still trapped, still playing the island's game.
Exactly. And now she's got another impossible choice. Climb down the cliff, climb up, or go back into the labyrinth. And there's no guarantee that any of those options will lead to safety.
So she's still in danger, still at the mercy of the island.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just Maoli who's facing these impossible choices. Chris is having his own encounter with the island's power. Remember that blue light from chapter 5?
Yeah, the one that was calling to him.
Right, he's drawn to it again, and it leads him into this cavern filled with pulsating crystals.
Oh, wow. That sounds beautiful.
It is. It's mesmerizing, but eerie, too. Like stepping into another dimension, a world with completely different rules.
I can imagine. And then there's the voice, right? The one that speaks to him, promising him knowledge, power, even control over the island.
Exactly. It's a tempting offer, especially for someone who's felt so powerless for so long.
Right, who wouldn't be tempted by that. But we know the island doesn't give anything for free. There's always a price.
It's always a price, and it's usually a steep one. So Chris has to decide. Accept the offer, reject it, or try to negotiate. What would you do?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. It's like the classic Faustian bargain, right? Sacrifice your soul for power. But what does power even mean in this context? Control over the island, control over the other players.
Exactly. It's all so ambiguous, and that's what makes it so dangerous.
So while Chris is being tempted by the light, Jill chooses a different path. She enters the darkness, and what she finds is incredible.
What? What does she find?
This untouched cavern filled with fresh water, fruit trees, and ancient paintings depicting the island as it once was. A paradise. Yeah. It's like she stumbled upon a hidden truth, a glimpse of what the island could be without the corruption.
Wow, that's fascinating. So there's still good on the island, still beauty buried beneath all the darkness.
It seems that way. And it makes you wonder what happened. What could have twisted something so beautiful into something so monstrous?
It's a huge question, right? Like what event or force could have caused such a profound transformation?
Right. And Jill has found a piece of that puzzle, a clue to the island's true nature. But will she share this knowledge? Will she try to restore the island to what it once was? Or will she keep it to herself, a secret source of hope in this desolate world?
And what are her options? What does she do?
Well, she can sleep, swim in the water, or look for a way out. Each choice has its own risks and rewards. It's like she's at a crossroads, and her decision will have major consequences not just for herself, but maybe for everyone else still on the island.
It sounds like she's becoming a very different kind of player than someone like Mike.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of different paths, Michelle is having her own mind-blowing experience.
Oh, what's she up to?
She finds this massive bloodwood tree, and its sap is pulsing with energy. It's like the heart of the island, you know?
Wow, that's intense.
And of course, she decides to taste the sap.
Oh no, Michelle, no.
I know, right? It's reckless, but also kind of brave. She's driven by curiosity, a thirst for knowledge, even if it puts her in danger.
It's like that old saying, curiosity killed the cat.
But satisfaction brought it back. I don't know, maybe not in this case, because the sap gives her visions, flashes of the island's past.
Including the event that transformed it.
Yeah, exactly. She sees it all. The beauty, the destruction, the pain. It's a lot to take in.
I bet. So now she's got this knowledge, this burden that no one else has. What does she do with it?
That's the question, isn't it? Does she use it to help others? Does she try to understand the island better? Or does she let it consume her?
Because knowledge like that, in a place like this, it can be a weapon or a curse.
It really can. And speaking of burdens, let's talk about Jim and Travis. Remember, Travis was bitten by that creature back in Chapter 5.
Yeah, the infection is spreading, isn't it?
It is, and he's drawn to this foreboding cavern, like the island is calling to him. And Jim, despite his better judgment, follows him.
Wow, talk about loyalty. But is it just loyalty, or is the island working on him too?
Right, because that cavern, it's giving off some seriously bad vibes. Like a point of no return, a descent into the heart of the island's darkness.
So they're heading into the belly of the beast.
Pretty much. It's like the island is
Yeah.
beckoning Travis, enticing him to embrace his transformation. And Jim's caught in the crossfire, torn between his concern for his friend and his own survival instincts.
Do they enter the cavern, turn back, try to find another way in?
Those are the choices. But like all the other choices on this island, they're all bad in different ways.
The island's playing with them, offering options that are all going to lead to pain.
Exactly. And then there's Peter and Chelsea, descending deeper and deeper into the island's core via this spiral staircase.
Oh, wow, that imagery is powerful. A descent into the subconscious, the unknown.
Right. It's like a metaphor for their journey. The deeper they go, the more the island's influence intensifies. The whispers get louder, more personal, targeting their weaknesses, their fears.
That's so creepy. So the island is getting inside their heads.
It is, and Chelsea's whispers are particularly nasty. They're planting seeds of doubt about Peter, suggesting that he's dangerous.
Oh, man, the island is trying to break them apart, sow discord among the remaining players.
Exactly. Divide and conquer. And then they reach this chamber with a massive engine, the heart of the island throbbing with power.
The heart of the island, wow.
Peter feels this overwhelming urge to stop it. But Chelsea, fueled by the whispers, is becoming increasingly suspicious of him.
So the island is manipulating Peter's desire for control and Chelsea's fear.
Yeah, and it's a recipe for disaster. Peter has to decide. Examine the engine, try to turn it off, or go back for Chelsea. And Chelsea's facing her own demons.
Yeah.
You resist the urge to push Peter into the engine, try to work with him or run. It's a test of trust, loyalty, and self-control, all while battling the island's whiskers.
Talk about high stakes. So much tension, right?
Yeah, like you could cut it with one of those obsidian shards.
Exactly.
But the island isn't done with him yet, remember, Andrew?
Hmm.
Managed to escape the sinking ship,
Mm-hmm.
but he's clinging to this piece of driftwood, and there's a shark circling below.
Oh my gosh, that is terrifying.
Right, like it's a primal fear, being hunted, vulnerable, with no escape. And the island knows it. It's playing on that fear.
Yeah, amplifying it with those whispers.
Andrew's already dealing with so much trauma, exhaustion, and now this.
It's like, what more can this guy take?
You're in the middle of the ocean, clinging to debris, with the shark circling below and the whispers in your head. What do you even do?
Right, like any choice you make could be your last.
It makes you think about what survival really means in this situation.
Yeah. Is it just about staying alive physically, or is there more to it?
Right. Can you really survive if the island has broken you?
If you've lost all hope?
Exactly. That's the question that hangs over this entire chapter, doesn't
It
it?
really does.
And speaking of survival, let's talk about Cowan and Jordana. They made that awful decision to abandon Sarah and Lauren on the sinking ship.
It's weighing heavily on them, you can tell.
Oh, the guilt is eating them alive, and the whispers are right there to exploit it.
Yeah, telling them they did what they had to do.
That survival is about self-preservation.
But is it really? Or is the island just twisting their actions to corrupt them even further?
It's a good question. And then they spot Andrew on that driftwood.
And suddenly they have another impossible choice.
Yeah, swim back to the beach, try to help Andrew, or go back for Sarah M. and Lauren.
Like the island is testing them, pushing them to see how far they'll go.
Can they find it in themselves to risk their lives for others after everything they've been through?
I don't know, it's a huge question of redemption. Can they atone for what they've done?
Or will they always be haunted by their choices?
And then there's Lauren,
She refused to leave Sarah M. behind,
trapped on that sinking ship.
desperately trying to revive her friend, even though she knows there's no hope.
That's heartbreaking.
It really is. It shows the power of love, of loyalty, even in the face of death.
But the whispers are so cruel, telling her it's all for nothing.
It's brutal, a reminder that the island doesn't care about human connection.
It just wants to see them suffer.
And the chapter leaves her fate uncertain. Did she somehow make it?
Or did she go down with the ship?
It's a cliffhanger that leaves you with this awful feeling in your gut.
I know, I hate it.
And then we get Sarah M.'s perspective.
Finally.
She's been unconscious this whole time, right?
Yeah.
And now we're in her subconscious.
What's it like?
It's terrifying. She's descending into this void, a dreamscape of twisted landscapes and faces.
And the whispers are there, I bet.
Oh yeah, they're relentless, stripping away her identity, her sense of self.
It's like a psychological annihilation.
By the end, she's lost. Another victim of the island's twisted game.
It's chilling, a reminder that death isn't always physical. Sometimes it's a loss of self, a surrender to the darkness.
And then we get that poem, Fathoms of Regret.
No author, no date, just these haunting words that perfectly capture her fate.
Waves of visions crash and break, regrets that drown, a heart to shake.
Ah, so vivid, so visceral.
A tale of loss in water's grasp, forever claimed by the island's clasp.
There are no happy endings on this island.
Just varying degrees of loss. So after all that, after witnessing the physical and psychological destruction of so many players,
What's the takeaway?
I think it's about the limits of human endurance.
How much can one person take?
How do we make choices when every option is wrong? And what does it even mean to survive?
Is it just staying alive or is it something more?
It's about holding on to your humanity, your compassion, your sense of self,
Even when everything is trying to rip it away from you?
fighting for hope, even when you're drowning in despair.
Exactly. Chapter 6 is a masterclass in psychological horror.
It's a warning, a challenge, a reminder that even in the darkest places, we have choices.
And those choices matter.
Whether they lead to survival or surrender is up to us.
Powerful stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
Oh, that was intense.
Yeah, we covered a lot today.
We did, but Chapter 7 is waiting, and I have a feeling the island has even more surprises in store for us.
I'm both excited and terrified to find out what they are.
Me too.
Uh,
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Survive the Island.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay strong.